Hey guys, this is Larry, and this is Military Stories. Today I want to just do a quick video. I'm going to talk about why I left the Army. And, I just want to, that was a video I wanted to do for a while to talk about some of the things that I encountered towards the end of my career. And so, I went in after high school. I joined the MEPS program. All right, I'm sorry, the delayed entry program in my junior year of high school. So what that means is you go to basic training in between your junior and senior year, and then after your senior year you go to AIT, and then you follow on to your active duty station if you're going to be active duty. So 18 years old, I knew that I was going to be going into the military, and I either wanted to go in the military right away or to college, but I knew I was going to be going in the military at one point or another. I just didn't know if I wanted to do college first or military first, but I wanted to serve my country. I think every adult male, female should serve their country at 18 years old or later. Most countries require that. I think everybody should serve their country. But when I joined, 9/11 had happened like 2 years earlier, a couple of years earlier, and so that kind of pushed me to go in the military sooner rather than later. I saw what was going on in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I wanted to support my country and do whatever they needed me to do. So anyway, so I joined, and I went in at 18, and within 6 months of finishing AIT after my senior year, then I was in Iraq within 6 months, and it was a crazy deployment schedule. The unit I went to had just came home from deployment within the past year. They went in '03, the initial invasion, and that's when I was still in high school. And then when I got there, they had another deployment planned, and they had only been home for a year, and they were going again. And so we knew we were going, and we deployed for a year. It was supposed to be longer, and then we came back from deployment, and during that time in between deployments, I went to schools. We went out to the field. I went by myself to Ranger School. I went to NTC. We were out in the fields for months at a time. And so like that whole year home in between deployments, we were gone a lot too. And, I was engaged at this time. So I rarely saw my family back home while I was in. I rarely saw anybody back home where I was from. And my fiance at the time, I rarely got to see her either. We were just in the infantry, and I'm sure a lot of jobs were like this at the time. Everybody was deploying. Everybody was constantly going overseas. Everybody was constantly training. And, the infantry would go out to the fields for a month at a time and train. So rarely home. And after our year off, we went to Iraq again. And I had only signed up for a 4-year enlistment initially. I was only going to do my initial enlistment and then either get out and go to college, or if I liked it enough, I was going to stay in and make a career out of it. But so one of the reasons why I got out is that, so we had deployed again, and we only had a year off and went on another year deployment. And, within those couple deployments, those couple of years of being gone, there was a lot of near death experiences. There was a lot of times where we would get put in a situation and I'm wondering, what are we even doing here? What is our mission anymore? Sometimes we'd be helping the locals. Sometimes we would just be looking for the enemy. And then other times we're just helping the local nationals. We're helping Iraqi police or the local army. We're trying to rebuild them up. And, at times you're starting to just question the mission. Like, what are we even doing here? And you're starting to wonder, is it worth the guys that we're losing, the people that are dying? We're barely escaping death every time we go. And then not only that, you're going to be deploying again. You're going to be going back soon. So during my second deployment, I got stop loss. I was supposed to get out of the military. My end of my enlistment came up, and instead of letting me get out of the military, they kept me in past my enlistment date. So I was stop lost and held beyond what I signed up for. It's kind of like a backdoor draft. at that time they needed bodies, and so if you were supposed to get out, they could keep you in. So I got stop loss past my day, and my time was coming up to make a decision, and we had come down on orders that our unit was about to deploy again within the next year. They were going to be going to Afghanistan. So that would have been for our unit 4 deployments back to back to back with a year off in between. And, I was just getting burnt out. I wanted to start a family. I was starting to question our objective, our mission there, and barely escaping death each time I came home. And I wanted to start a family and go to college and have a normal job. So that was one part of it. Another thing is that the Army started to change a little bit, and it definitely happened even more after I got out, and definitely in the last few years with COVID and stuff. Just the politics started to become an issue. Like with the COVID thing, the mask, guys were getting kicked out of the military if they didn't wear a mask, or if they didn't agree with the vaccine mandate. If they didn't get the vaccine, they're getting kicked out. And then I don't think guys were getting kicked out because of the mask, but they were getting reprimanded if they weren't wearing the mask during that time. So whether you agree with that or not, I'm not saying one is right or wrong, but you shouldn't be getting kicked out because you don't want to get a vaccine or something. And then during my time, things started getting really political. That's one thing I didn't like about the military is I like the structure and the discipline to a point, but then there's like a time when common sense comes in. And, if you're telling me to do something just to be a jerk about it and to be super disciplined, gung-ho, but it doesn't make common sense, that's something I didn't really agree with. And so I started to not agree with all the bureaucratic political stuff with the military. I'm like, I want to be able to think for myself and speak up for myself and not get in trouble just because, the big army says that's not what you're supposed to do. And a lot of people, that's why they end up going like special forces or, into special operations, because they don't play by the same rules. They don't have to follow all the same, diplomatic procedural things. So I started to get sick of all the dumb rules that don't make any sense, like we were going to and from deployments and, making sure that your uniform is perfectly pressed or making sure your boots are spit shined and clean. And, we have different boots now, but you know what I mean? Just the dumb rules that we had to follow. So, I wanted to start a family and I was sick of the constant deployments and all the political rules that started to come into place, so that's why I got out of the military. But at the same time, I think everybody should serve their country. Like whether you agree with the reason for our deployments or not, like since the beginning of time, people have not agreed with where we were deploying to. People didn't agree with Vietnam. People didn't agree with getting involved with Korea. People didn't agree with getting involved in World War II or World War One. And, whether you agree with it or not, I think we have the United States of America. We're fighting for freedom, whether directly or indirectly. And I'm not going to get in that argument with the Middle East, but, we were trying to stop terrorism with the global war on terrorism. And that's why it lasted so long because, still to this day, there's still these terrorist cells in those countries that never were completely defeated, but that's a difficult enemy to completely wipe out. But my point is that if you're a young person you're looking for direction in your life and something to do with purpose, that, I think serving your country is something honorable and patriotic that you can do. And we need people to keep joining and serving our armed forces, or we're not going to have an armed forces. We're not going to have, military to defend us. If some country, God forbid, ever wanted to invade the United States, uh, then we're not going to have a country to defend if we don't have people that are volunteering to fight. And so I encourage you that whether you agree with our mission or not, think about serving our country just for the principle of serving this nation, whatever the cause may be. So that's it. If you haven't heard of my channel before, Military Stories, every week I release a video about tips, advice about the military or combat stories from my deployments or from contracting or, anything in between. So if you haven't, subscribe to my channel, get a new video every week and like the video. If you could, please, hit the thumbs up button. Thanks for watching and take care. God bless.